So after literally 2 decades since the franchise started, I finally played Halo, only I started with the last one. The last one, that is, of what might be considered the classic series before 343 Industries took over. None other than Halo Reach, the climactic finale charting the events that kicked off Master Chief's misadventures, even though he's nowhere in sight for the entire game. Firstly, I have to give credit where credit's due because it did keep me engaged for much of its playtime. You know, other than the parts where I was bored out of my skull, or utterly baffled by plot points clearly meant for someone who played the entire series up to that point. You see, despite having a relationship with Halo more akin to sour milk, I picked up the Master Chief Collection some time ago while it was on sale. Steam naturally, because I can't abide playing FPSs on controller. I was probably told Reach was the first to play continuity wise, and incidentally the only game of the collection that was actually available at that time. So off I go, being introduced to some armor clad badasses whose asses are so bad only because the story says so, before being dropped off on a cliff and told to hoof it across 6 miles of empty terrain. Now I've got nothing against atmosphere building and suspense. My favourite game after all starts with a 14-hour tram ride with Siri going on about corporate policy. But combat evolved, this is not. Then finally I get to fight some pushover grunts, drive around a bit, and then stop playing for 6 months. It was at this point I was reminded of my first encounter with Halo, all those years ago, of seeing my neighbour playing it and thinking, my god, getting to explore that ring looks amazing. So upon picking up a copy, the now virtually impossible to get PC version of course, I slogged through the corridors of the first mission, marvelled at the skybox for a bit before being forced into a tedious find and defend quest, where I started suspecting I might be more in love with Halo's concept than its execution, and eventually tasked with infiltrating an enemy ship to rescue that guy from the start of the game. Finally, I thought, something to get my teeth stuck into. It was at the third set of identical looking corridors that I began to consider that the game had glitched and I had found myself in some kind of infinite loop. It was after the fourth corridor and several restarts in an attempt to fix the problem that I realised that there was no problem and that this was just the game. To which I stopped playing and spent the next couple of decades wondering why everyone seemed to think this franchise was the second coming of Christ. The day then comes where I'm sitting there, putting off editing a video, and yearning for some simplistic shooter I don't really have to think too much about, and Halo pops into my mind. Sure, I think, why not? Trudging across the wilderness is worth it, as long as I can shoot an alien in the face along the way. But then something weird happened. I got invested. It was about the time some manic predator wannabe was charging at me looking to make me a Spartan shish kebab that I realised that this wasn't going to be as simplistic as I thought, and decided to stick with the game out of pure spite. This spite however was eased somewhat after being able to take it out on my enemies with a high-powered sniper rifle and cloaking device, and began to morph into genuine enjoyment around the point I got myself involved in a full-scale war, nuked an enemy base with a capital ship, had that capital ship nuked by a bigger capital ship before having to dogfight in space so that I could rip a dreadnought in half with the power of inverted space-time, and finally fall through the atmosphere back to the surface, I'm assuming without a parachute. As if that wasn't enough, I'm now on my own in an occupied city with an entire enemy fleet having just hyperspaced in because Bungie just wrote yes on the document that asked how much escalation they wanted in the game. And believe it or not, I am now having a good time. Probably the best time I had with the whole game honestly, because while flying a VTOL around and watching the city get glassed is entertaining, having to stop and save yahoos who can't look after themselves is back to the tediousness I thought we'd passed already. To pile on, the rest of the game pretty much revolves around plot points and MacGuffins. I guess you need to be a Halo fan already to get any merit out of, because that's Cortana, isn't it? Isn't she just the Pillar of Autumn's AI? And if not, why is she so personable with the captain in Halo 1? You know what, I'm sure these questions will be answered in later games, or earlier games as it may be, so I can wait to complain about how little sense the what I'm sure to be retcons make at a later date. As for the rest of Reach, I'm not sure if you're meant to stand and fight every single enemy, or just run past them, because you can be damn sure that by now I'd long since given up the fight and just wanted out. So imagine my annoyance when my character decides he's just gonna hang around on the planet to die, while everyone gets to go visit the giant hula hoop in the sky. And then again, I guess if you'd gotten away, then they wouldn't need Chief for anything, so a noble last stand is all that really awaits you, I suppose. And I only now just got why a call sign throughout the game is what it is. Bit on the nose if you ask me. I have one question though. Why isn't this a Master Chief origin story? Why have such a highly skilled brand new character just to kill him off? Why not keep pretty much everything the same, but just as you're about to fall in your last stand, you get miraculously saved? I mean, it's not any less believable than anything else that's happened in this game. Then you have a scene at the end with people talking about how damaged your armor is, how they can't believe you're alive, and how you'll need to go in stasis to recover. Then boom, cut to you in a stasis pod. That stasis pod, in new green armor, and it dawns on you. Why were they calling him Noble 6? Thank you for watching everyone who did. This was something quite different for the channel, but as you can probably tell, I had a lot of thoughts about Halo Reach, and as I now play through the remaster of the first game, I can tell you I have a lot of thoughts on that too. In all, and to my surprise, I actually quite enjoyed playing through the game, and this video really isn't meant to be taken as the hate speech some may see it as. Sure, they have parts that baffle and bore me, but ultimately I wouldn't still be playing them if there wasn't something about them I was enjoying. Anyways, if you want to see more videos like this, then hit the like button, and if you want to see more of the channel in your feed, then subscribe. If you want to go that bit further in your support of the channel, then become a patron or channel member. Links are down in the description. Now, I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time.